Wow, new Hearthstone update is out. Oh wait, this is an NFT card game. That's completely dead. This has the quality of a Christian math game. You've got assets that are just stretched to fit the right size. Animations, which are basic and hard to look at. The cards make a terrible colliding sound when you move them. The music sounds like your younger brother practicing the recorder. Card games have a relatively low barrier to entry for developers because you don't need to do fancy computer physics stuff. But to do it right, now that's difficult. That's why I wanted to check in and see what the state of card games are like today. I got a lot of history with Hearthstone. Unfortunately, most free-to-play card games, much like your favorite band in high school, do not age well. Cards equal money, so 3 expansions of 100 cards each for like a decade. Yeah, this game had no chance of staying balanced. Just to try to maintain excitement, it seems like the best cards now just add random value to your hand. Seriously, what are we doing here? You hurt yourself. Still, some of the most beautiful boards, artwork, and a banger soundtrack. These bubbles here, they shouldn't be poppable, but someone decided to go above and beyond their job description. Other game modes have been added. I think some of them are worth the try, but I can't recommend the base game to new players. They'll be overwhelmed by the randomness of cards and will absolutely hate the complicated and expensive system to acquire them. A game I would recommend is Marvel Snap. Hearthstone's godfather Ben Brode left at the perfect time to get that Mickey Mouse cheddar, and he made a great normie mobile game. Let's take Hearthstone, trim all of this fat, and what we're left with is a small card pool and a quick 6-turn game that feels snappy. You can snort G Fuel on your phone screen while playing it, but 90% of your opponents are just dropping turds. Aesthetics are nearly up there with Hearthstone, but absolutely juices its design daddy when it comes to mobile integration. Snap was designed for mobile, and this decision trickles down to nearly every aspect of the game. Games are short, and there are only a few actions. Somehow there's still plenty of satisfying decision making. Updates are small and frequent, with a new card releasing every week or two. The microtransactions are surprisingly not too invasive. A large mobile player base means there's enough money to support a game without cringy pay-to-win requirements. Although I do have to say the in-game currencies and the gimmicks to bring players back are tiring. Definitely still in the honeymoon period of this game's life cycle. The card pool is still small, so as that grows, power creep is going to become an issue. It's not going to provide that same competitiveness that Hearthstone once did, but it doesn't necessarily need to, and it seems to be forming a community. For all the work he's done, I'm so glad that Ben Brode has made a great game and is getting that Disney bag. Artifact, a relic of its time. This was not originally free to play. I was one of the suckers that shelled out $20 for it. Valve was trying to compete with Hearthstone back in 2018, and instead, they made a worse, more complicated game. 3 lanes, minions, and heroes, and items, and buffs. In 2021, they closed up shop. Today, either the servers are down or no one is playing. Is there really a difference? It's a shame because I always welcome competition, and the visuals and music really hold its own against Hearthstone, something that was kind of unique back then. But the gameplay, man, it is slow, clunky, convoluted, and just overall uninteresting. I'm sure if they eventually added more cards, they would explore some more ideas, but there is no way in hell this game was going to be able to compete, especially against what I think was actually its real competitor. It only made sense that the original collectible card game would eventually make an online version, but here's the secret. Magic the Gathering is cracked. You'd be surprised, but a game with multi-phased turns that has been printing cards for 30 years has a steep learning curve. Cards have an encyclopedia of keywords and text. Turns can feel like you're a bureaucrat approving your opponent's every action. The approachability is a 1 out of 10 for this game, but Arena's tutorial is solid, and it's probably the best way to learn this messy game. I'm convinced a rule has unintentionally been broken in every in-person Magic game I've ever played. I use MTG Arena as a learning tool. I don't know how expensive it is to acquire cards. I don't really care, because I only play to practice the core mechanics of the game. I've got my own physical vampire deck that keeps me warm at night, and I'll probably never learn how to play against other certain matchups. But the cards look cool, and I'm halfway competent, all thanks to MTG Arena. Whoa, big time play! Unleash Puppies! This game is so goofy. Childish in the sense that it's highly reliant on a lot of absurd logic. If you play this game, I respect you. but I think you and the others should be sent off into space to start a new society. Good luck out there. Eternal is Magic the Gathering for babies. That's not even a bad thing. I think the atmosphere is cool, gameplay is simpler than MTG, and it flows pretty well. In fact, it may be better than Magic the Gathering, but we'll never know, because it forces you to do this long-ass tutorial, 25 minutes at world record pace, and I could only get halfway through the tutorial. Jake, you aren't giving this game a chance. Of those 10 or so pre-planned tutorial matches, there was nothing new added to what is essentially Magic the Gathering gameplay with less cards. I believe Influence is one addition, and I'm not entirely sure how that even works. The game's probably fine, but if you play a lot of card games, you're gonna be really bored by the tutorial this game makes you go through. Mythgard, on the other hand, is able to slightly distinguish itself from other collectible card games to make an engaging experience. Board positioning is a bit more chess-like. Resource management is really creative. You have to shuffle a card from your hand back into your deck in order to gain mana. You can only do this once per turn, but the balance between the resources in your hand and the mana you need to use those cards makes for a lot of decision making. Definitely a game on this list that I'm interested in playing more of, and I was serious about that Yu-Gi-Oh! Spaceship thing. The Witcher card game is better than I expected. Somewhere between Hearthstone and Snap in complexity, it's a best of 3 rounds where the goal is to manage resources while building the strongest board states. The art style is a choice that works for me. Music is from The Witcher, obviously, it's great, and the audio effects are, well, they're good. My biggest gripe with the game is the lack of interaction between both armies. There are definitely some cards that interact with the opponent's side, but a lot of matches felt like my opponent and I were open TDD companies on opposite sides of the map doing our own thing. To be fair, I think Snap has this same issue, but it's not as noticeable because you're playing all 3 rounds at the same time at 3 locations. Oh my god, just like Artifact. The win condition of make your number bigger seems a bit restrictive in this longer context. Resource management is the strategy in Gwent. There's no aggro decks, which does sound nice, but it mainly leads to synergy buffing decks and few cards that disrupt or at least interact with your enemy. Those were some free-to-play games, fuck you Artifact, all with varying levels of microtransaction annoyance. But I wanted to look at some card games that you just buy outright. Stacklands is a single-player resource management survival game. You craft and learn new recipes, grow crops, start a family, look into the eyes of your offspring, but don't let the cute crayon drawings fool you. This is a hellish reenactment of human suffering. Opening card packs isn't a dopamine rush, but a kick to the kidneys. A rat will spawn instead of the food you need to put on the table so baby Johnny doesn't perish. Even though you can pause the game, your head is still going a million miles an hour, constantly selling stuff, buying and opening packs, crafting, and commanding hard labor from your subjects. Oh, the cards, they have silly physics. Well, it's not so silly when you're trying to manage the tribe's workflow. A chicken starts attacking your kin, a witch's portal spawns goblins, and you don't have enough food for the next moon. Game, let me craft a poop stick! I need it to defend my family! It's a well-made game, worth the $5, but maybe a little too stressful for me. Alright, I get it. Slay the Spire is fantastic. Every bit of HP matters towards your next fight. You're constantly getting stronger, combos give you a power trip, and even if an enemy is boring, you may get some legendary loot that will help you fight the next boss. And this game is tough. You start off with bad cards fighting bad enemies, but pretty soon you need to figure out a deck strategy because the enemies ramp up quickly. If you don't mind failing the first boss a couple of times, it's rewarding when you finally figure out a combo that works. Decks reshuffle during fights, so it's a balance between adding new cards and making sure your deck isn't too bloated so your synergies are consistent. Fights are fast and runs are too if you suck like me. Numerous enemy types, unique characters and deck types, plus daily challenges to keep things interesting. It's really easy to pick up, but there's a learning curve that I haven't seen the peak of. Get it when it's on sale. Solve the puzzle to power up your ability cards and combo bonuses to deal extra damage. Ancient Enemy has visuals, audio, gameplay, and I hate puzzle games. A glorified Microsoft Mahjong, my mind turns to a meaningless gruel with flies circling overhead when I play these games. Yes, I am bad at puzzles. No synapses fire in my brain while I play puzzle games. Even when I succeed, I feel like I've wasted my time. And I'm someone who spent an afternoon researching a video that I was gonna call Explaining the Iceberg of Cat Food. If you like puzzle games and card games, you'll like Ancient Enemy. But let's be real, hands down, the #1 card game. It's gotta be Pizzuno.